This episode of Test Drive is made possible by RateMyEV.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back to PRN Test Drive. Last year we featured a fully loaded 2026 Hyundai IONIQ 9 on the channel, and we deemed it a very impressive three-row electric SUV. However, fully loaded models aren't usually the ones that sell the most, so today we have a 2026 IONIQ 9 preferred all-wheel drive trim, the second lowest trim in the lineup, to see if this is actually the sweet spot. Let's check it out. Here in Canada, the 2026 IONIQ 9 is split into 3 trims and 2 packages. The base model is the Essential rear-wheel drive, which starts at around 62,000 Canadian dollars. And then we have the Preferred all-wheel drive and Preferred all-wheel drive plus. Both of them are listed at the same price at around 67,000 Canadian dollars. And the difference between the two is that the Preferred all-wheel drive plus gets more power, but gets less features. And then for the Preferred all-wheel drive, that's the opposite. After that, we have the 2 packages, which is the luxury pack that is tied to the Preferred all-wheel drive. That one is about 78,000 Canadian dollars. And then we have the fully loaded model, which is the ultimate calligraphy package, which is paired to the Preferred all-wheel drive plus. That one is around 83,000 Canadian dollars. Under the body, the IONIQ 9 shares the same 800-volt eGMP platform as the Kia EV9, but the IONIQ 9 gets a slightly longer wheelbase and also a 110 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which is a little bigger than the one available on the long-range EV9. In terms of motor setup, the IONIQ 9 gets 3 configurations. The base rear-wheel drive model gets a single motor in the back, producing 215 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. The all-wheel drive preferred models get a dual motor setup, which produces 303 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque. And then the preferred all-wheel drive plus models, you get 422 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. As for the range, it's rated at 539, 515, and 500 kilometers respectively, depending on, of course, the motor setup. Moving on to the charging, the IONIQ 9 gets an NACS charging port, which means you can plug straight into the Tesla supercharger network without using an adapter. Under ideal conditions, DC fast charging from 10 to 80% with a 350 kilowatt charger is rated at 24 minutes, and level 2 charging, you're looking at an 11.5 kilowatt onboard charger, so about 10 hours to fully recharge. Heat pump is also standard equipment for the IONIQ 9. Alright, let's talk about the looks, because this one, in my opinion, is a pretty weird looking one. But at the same time, I also think it's kind of cool, like something from space. And I guess it's all in the name of aerodynamics, because the front end here is very rounded, the A-pillar is very slanted, so it can have a lower drag coefficient. Now, the centerpiece in the front here is, of course, the headlights. You get the pixel design LED headlights, similar to what you see in the back of the IONIQ 5, but this time it's a light bar up front and also the high and low beams off to the side. There are also some active air vents in the middle down there for extra cooling. Over to the side, the IONIQ 9 is almost 5.1 meters in length and has a wheelbase of 3.13 meters, which means that this is a pretty big SUV. It comes standard with pop-out door handles along with roof rails, but because this is a lower trim, it gets unpainted plastic wheel arches instead of gloss black ones or body colored ones on the higher trims. Now, this preferred all-wheel drive trim also gets the smaller 19-inch rims instead of the available 21s. As for suspension setup, it's identical across the board. You get McPherson struts in the front and a multi-link setup in the rear, and then the IONIQ 9 does not come with any adaptive dampers. For me, I think the back end of this IONIQ 9 looks the most interesting. It kind of reminds me of an early 2000s Volvo V70 with especially the vertical taillights, except on the IONIQ 9, these pixel lights actually go all the way around, with the top portion being the brake lights. As for trunk space, all of them get a powered trunk, and inside you're looking at 620 liters of cargo space behind the third rows, and about 1,300 liters if you fold the third row seats down. If you decide to fold both the second and the third row down, you're looking at close to 2,500 liters of space. For this preferred trim, you get manual straps to fold down the third row seats, and 2 buttons on the side here to quickly fold down the second row seats. But if you go for the ultimate calligraphy trim, both the second row and the third row will be fully powered. Jumping inside, starting with the third row, you actually get different second row sliding mechanisms depending on which side you get in. On the left side, it folds and slides, but on the right side, the seat lifts up out of the way, allowing you to keep a car seat mounted. I think this is very smart of Hyundai to give us such flexibility, because depending on the situation, one type of sliding mechanism might just work out better than the other, or vice versa. In terms of space, I'm actually quite comfortable in here. For reference, I'm 5'9". I have plenty of recline adjustments here. I can pull the strap here. Plenty of leg room and enough leg room. As a matter of fact, the reason why I don't have more leg room in the third row is because I can't actually slide the second row seats any further forwards. For context, this is the most forward second row setting, and as you can see, I still have a good 5 inches or so of legroom in front of me with the front seat adjusted to my driving position. So if there's a couple more clicks, I'd be able to better distribute the legroom space, so whoever's sitting in the third row seat will have an even better time. When you're not carrying people around, you can slide the seat all the way back, recline, and properly lounge. This preferred trim gets leatherette interior, a third zone climate control, as well as a second row bench seat configuration. But if you go for the ultimate calligraphy trim, you'll get power captain seats with leg rests, seat heating, and seat ventilation, along with a panoramic sunroof, window sunshades, and a sliding center console for easy access from the back here. Moving to the front, because of the shape of the car, the front side windows are basically a triangle, which looks a little bit weird, and if you're taller, you might end up hitting the A-pillar when you're getting in with your head. The windshield also comes quite far back, which means you'll need to use the sun visor quite often, which of course isn't a problem, but there is about an inch gap between the A-pillar and the visor, which turns out to be problematic because there's been several instances where the sun was just right there in the gap. Aside from those minor observations, the rest of the interior is pretty great. Front seats are power adjusted and heated, steering wheel is also heated, and you've got a good amount of physical buttons around. The climate control touchscreen is not my favorite still because it takes more of your attention away from the road while you're driving, but at least those icons are fixed and they're always there. The curved display also looks really nice, 12-inch for the cluster and 12-inch for the infotainment. Support for wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto is standard. You also get a wireless charger, a ton of storage. The center console here is really deep and can be opened from both the front and the back, so even the rear passenger can have easy access. And then compared to the top trim, you're going to miss out on things like a head-up display, a Bose sound system, memory and massaging seat for the driver, as well as ambient lighting, a suede headliner, etc, etc. Okay, let's go for a drive. If you're in the market for an electric vehicle and you want to find out what it's like to live with on long term, you should check out our sponsor for this video, RateMyEV.com. RateMyEV.com is a platform with owner-based EV reviews, so it's able to give you insights as regular reviewers might not be able to give you. And if you are an existing EV owner, you should go ahead and leave a review of your EV. Now, this preferred trim is down 120 horsepower and 70 pound-feet of torque compared to the preferred all-wheel drive plus, but the off-the-line acceleration is still very impressive. The throttle response in sport mode is immediate, so driving around town, it feels very, very quick. Come to a stop here in sport mode. Yeah, it's very quick off the line for sure. However, once you go past about 80 kilometers an hour, you do feel that the thrust drop off quite significantly. It's still not slow by any means, even at higher speeds, but it's noticeably less acceleration compared to the initial surge. Give this one a try, and if you don't think this is enough power for you, maybe then you can consider the preferred all-wheel drive plus with the 422 horsepower. This being a big family SUV, the second priority after space is of course comfort. And ride quality on this IONIQ 9 is really good. The suspension is soft, and this trim having smaller rims and fatter tire walls means that it would be able to absorb the road imperfections very well. But you're also not really sacrificing any of the body roll control because of the low center of gravity with the battery. So turn right here, let me demonstrate. It's actually really stable going over corners. With that said, I do feel like it's lacking a little bit of lateral stability when going over potholes and road imperfections. It wiggles a little bit depending on what type of pothole and what type of road imperfection it is. So perhaps if you have slightly bigger rims on this trim, or slightly bigger rims in general, it would have a slightly better balance between comfort and driving dynamics instead of just being full comfort on this trim. Regen braking on this IONIQ 9 is also tuned really well. It feels very natural. It also has 5 different settings from level 0 to level 4, 0 being no regen at all and 4 being one pedal drive. These settings can be easily adjusted through the steering wheel paddles. Personally, I think level 1 feels the most natural if you're coming from a regular non-electric vehicle. But if you want, you can also hold down the right paddle so it goes into smart regen mode, which means that it will adjust the regen braking depending on the traffic in front. One of the things that really stood out to me is how refined and quiet this IONIQ 9 is. Even without the active noise cancellation which you get on the higher trims, this is very quiet on the highway. It also comes standard with highway drive assist, which means you get adaptive cruise control, lane follow assist, highway lane change assist, along with parking sensors, emergency braking, blind spot warning, things like that. But if you want 360 camera, remote parking, those kind of features, and I guess a couple of the extra nice to have safety features, you have to go for the higher trims. Last thing I want to mention before wrapping up is efficiency. This preferred all-wheel drive trim has a rated range of 515 kilometers and a combined efficiency rating of 24 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. From my observations, however, I've been able to achieve numbers substantially better than that. For context, it is currently June, so not quite hot summer yet, but I've had the AC on most of the time, and even then, I've been able to achieve around 16-17 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers in the city and about 20 to 21 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers on the highway, which means that in theory, you should be able to outperform the 515 kilometers of rated range, sometimes quite substantially. Overall, this IONIQ 9, in my opinion, is a very, very good product. Sure, you're not getting the most power or the most features, but what comes included with this trim already checks a lot of the boxes. It has a big battery, a leather interior, and most of the tech and safety features. I guess having a sunroof and slightly bigger rims would be nice, but if that means I have to spend an extra $11,000 or $16,000 for those packages, I'm not sure if I could justify those. Plus, not everyone likes motorized seats. Manual seats are quicker to adjust, so especially for the second row, it allows you to get in and out of the third row seats much quicker. At 67,000 Canadian dollars, I definitely think this preferred all-wheel drive trim is the sweet spot in the lineup. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about this IONIQ 9? Would you get something else, maybe the Kia EV9 or something from other brands? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.